All right, guys. Last session, Mite wandered off after suddenly disappearing, searching for something to feed his new symbiote companion. After a tense encounter in a nearby alley, Mite reluctantly devoured a merchant's mule under the cover of invisibility, narrowly avoiding being seen. He returned to the group, visibly full and holding his stomach, sparking a debate about invisible turds. With the mule incident behind them, the party decided to refocus on their mission. Saxi, showing some compassion, paid the merchant for the mule's replacement before the group turned their attention toward the airship docking area. They noticed an impressive defensive perimeter around the inner docking bay, manned by both Waterdeep and Capitol guards. Tronald, Saxi, and the others discussed their next steps and potential targets among the arriving nobles. Soon enough, Tronald spotted Sir Reginald Hawke, a loud and jovial noble dressed in fine red velvet with rings on nearly every finger. You all made your approach, whilst Saxi struck up a conversation, using Tronald's detect thoughts to navigate the interaction smoothly. They quickly learned that Sir Reginald was a lover of gambling and drink, and Saxi played into this, boasting about his own social exploits. Sir Reginald invited you all to join him in an evening of gambling and drinks, offering the perfect chance for the group to make connections among the nobles. He even suggested they continue the games on board the airship, setting the stage for the next phase of your plan.
So what are we doing right now, Joe? Just following Reginald?
Yeah, he's taking you to a spot where the nobles and aristocrats hang out. Real exclusive, somewhere away from the prying eyes and slobbery of common folk. No riffraff, just the elite. You'll be able to drink, gamble, and chat without worrying about guards or spies eavesdropping. It's one of those places where money talks and everyone else walks.
Sir Reginald, this establishment you're leading us to, will they allow our personal guard to enter as well? I ask because they've become more than just guards to us. They're practically family now. It wouldn't feel right to leave them behind after everything we've been through.
My Lady Garan, I completely understand. Loyalty to one's guard shows true nobility indeed. And for you, my dear, absolutely. Your guards shall be welcomed as part of your noble retinue. In fact, any who stand by Lord and Lady Garan are worthy of the finest treatment. Consider them part of the evening's festivities. Family, as you so rightly say.
Sir, should we be on the lookout inside this place? I mean, it's Waterdeep, and you never know who might be watching or listening. Do we need to be wary of anyone in particular?
Sir Reginald laughs loudly and places a hand on your shoulder, Tronald.
Not at all, my good man. Inside, you'll be amongst my most trusted friends. I tend to keep my circle small, and I can assure you those who are in it are people I can rely on without question.
He pauses, his expression softening as he continues.
I currently have 4 close companions I depend on, aside from the countless other nobles who drift in and out of our lives. But you...
He looks towards you, Saxi.
Perhaps you could be part of that inner circle too, Lord Garand. I find a certain comfort in the strange and unexpected. You see, people who seem too perfect, well, they usually turn out to be the complete opposite. Wisdom's taught me that much.
Sir Reginald flashes a grin, before gesturing for you all to follow. He leads you away from the main streets of Waterdeep. The clatter of hooves and merchant shouts gradually fade into the distance. After about 5 minutes of walking, you round a corner and come face to face with the entrance to a grand establishment. The building stands impeccably clean, its polished stone exterior gleaming under the light of enchanted lanterns. Elaborate banners hang from the upper balconies, each bearing different sigils and crests. Personal guards in fine armor stand vigilantly outside, their postures stiff, their eyes scanning the area. You can't help but notice the variety. Some guards are dressed in standard military fashion, while others wear more exotic garb, complete with strange masks and weapons that don't quite belong to this city. It's clear that nobility from far beyond Waterdeep frequent this place. Reginald steps forward and knocks on the door with a curious rhythm. 3 slow taps, followed by 2 quick ones. After a brief moment, the door swings open on its own, revealing a dimly lit hallway beyond. Inside, you're greeted by the sight of more private guards, standing at attention. Their armor reflects the faint torchlight as they observe your group silently, sizing you up, but they make no move to stop you. Sir Reginald motions for you to follow, leading you down a narrow staircase. The air grows cooler as you descend 2 flights, the stone steps echoing faintly beneath your feet. At the bottom, the stairs open into a magnificent underground room, easily the size of a small mansion. The walls are lined with rich tapestries, and chandeliers of crystal and gold hang from the ceiling, bathing the room in warm, luxurious light. Plush furniture surrounds low tables, where nobles in fine silks and satins sit drinking from intricately carved goblets. Dice roll across the tables, Cards shuffle in well-manicured hands, and the low murmur of hushed conversations fills the air. In the far corner, a lavish bar gleams, tended by servants in livery. The entire room exudes wealth and power. This is where the elite come to indulge, far from prying eyes.
Can I see how many nobles are down here, Joe?
Give me a perception check, Saxi.
Can I make one too?
Yeah, sure, roll it.
So I rolled a 13.
That's a 27, Joe.
Holy hell.
You know what? Let's make this interesting. I give her a flash of genius for a 32 total.
Oh, wow.
I say, this place is almost as fabulous as our gaming area back home, mistress. And I give Celestia a bardic inspiration.
What the hell, guys? Are you trying to perceive into another dimension or something?
And what do you know? That's an 8 from Might's inspiration, so a 40 total, Joe.
Celestia, with your godly perception, it's as if time slows down for you. You take in every detail, every flicker of movement, every breath in the room. Exactly 26 nobles are present, spread across various plush seats, each one carrying themselves with the air of importance. You can feel their status just by the way they hold their goblets, the subtle tilt of their heads as they converse. As you continue to look around, your eyes catch a subtle exchange of glances between Sir Reginald and a table near the corner. Seated there are 4 figures. One of them, a man in a finely crafted wheelchair, draws your attention first. His sharp blue eyes flicker with a dangerous intelligence, his expression calculating, as if constantly assessing every detail around him. Though he doesn't move much, there's an undeniable sense of authority surrounding him that speaks of power beyond physical strength. Beside him sits another man, his attire striking in its flamboyance. He's wearing a deep red doublet with gold embroidery, lounging with a relaxed confidence. His dark hair is slicked back, and every so often he twirls a glass of wine between his fingers, as if completely at ease in this lavish setting. He exudes charisma, his smile both charming and self-assured. Across the table from them is a figure dressed in dark robes, his face animated in conversation. There's a glint of amusement in his eyes, as though everything said is some kind of private joke. His posture is relaxed, but you get the sense that his mind is constantly working, quick and perceptive. Finally, your gaze drifts to a halfling seated at the same table. Despite his smaller stature, he commands the space around him with ease. He's leaning back in his chair, swirling his drink lazily, and yet there's something about his eyes, sharp and aware, as though nothing escapes his notice. A smirk plays on his lips, like someone who finds humor in everything, even in situations that might not call for it. It's clear these men aren't just typical nobles enjoying a night out. There's something deeper here, a bond or familiarity that suggests they're part of a much tighter circle than the rest of the room. But then something else catches your eye. At the far side of the room, near the bar, you spot a woman who seems almost out of place. Though impeccably dressed, her aura is one of quiet intensity. Her black gown flows elegantly to the floor, and a silver necklace with a blood-red gemstone rests against her pale skin. Her raven hair is intricately braided, but it's her eyes, piercing violet, that hold your attention. They flicker as she leans in to whisper something to the bartender. The bartender nods ever so slightly and without drawing attention gives a low whistle, one so faint that only you could catch it with your heightened senses. As if on cue, a man seated at the bar shifts, retrieving a note that the bartender subtly slides across the counter. The man, unassuming in a simple brown coat, moves with practiced precision. He sticks the note under the bottom of a bottle of wine before standing up and disappearing into a back room. To anyone else, the exchange would be unremarkable, but with your godlike perception, it's clear that something much more significant is unfolding.
Reginald, who's that woman over there, the one by the bar in the black gown? She stands out, doesn't she?
Reginald looks up toward where the woman had been standing just moments ago, but before his gaze can fully settle on her, she's already slipping into the shadows, her figure gliding out of sight with an almost eerie grace. It's as if she was never there, merely a ghost passing through the crowd, unnoticed by all but the most perceptive. His voice drops to a near whisper, his eyes still lingering where she once stood.
She's the Phantom Rose, my dear. Cassia Velis. A given name, I assure you, not her real one. I'm not surprised you haven't heard of her. Few do. In fact, most only know her as a whisper, a rumor, half glimpsed in passing. They just know she's always there when you least expect it.
Reginald hesitates, his jovial demeanor fading slightly. He leans in, his voice taking on a more serious tone.
But the truth is...
He glances around the room, his eyes narrowing as though even the walls might be listening. For a moment, he seems to weigh his words carefully.
Meh. We'll speak more of it later, my dear.
He straightens up, his tone returning to a lighthearted murmur, though there's a noticeable edge beneath it.
I know I said this place was safe and that secrets could be shared freely. But there are some secrets that should not be discussed even in the quietest of halls. Some truths belong to the shadows themselves.
Reginald, still wearing his broad smile, gestures for you to follow as he makes his way across the room, moving with confidence through the crowd. The closer you get to the table with his four companions, the more you can feel the shift in the air. This is clearly a space of power, and these men command attention even without trying. As Reginald approaches, he raises his hand in a boisterous greeting.
Ah, my friends, what a fine night for mischief and merriment. I trust the wine has been flowing as generously as ever.
He claps a hand on the back of the man in the wheelchair, who remains perfectly still, his sharp blue eyes fixated on you all with an almost unsettling intensity.
Reginald, always a pleasure, amigo. The wine, exquisite as usual. But tell me, who are these fine folk you bring to our table?
Indeed, Reginald, you have a talent for bringing the most unique company to our humble table. Such an intriguing pair. Handsome, yes, but there's more, isn't there?
Well, if they're sitting at our table, they must be worth the trouble. Though I'll admit, they don't exactly scream easy marks for a game of dice. Shame, really. I was hoping for a profitable evening.
The halfling's eyes twinkle as he sips his wine.
Allow me the distinct pleasure of introducing Lord and Lady Garand. They've journeyed far to grace our humble gathering here in Waterdeep before we take off on the airships. A pair with elegance and wit to match their title, I assure you. Well, now that they know you, I guess it's time for me to introduce you to these lot. First, Sir Vladislav Bonarov, master strategist, and a mind sharper than any blade. Be warned, he sees more than most, and speaks only when it truly matters.
Vladislav, still staring coldly, his gaze unwavering, offers nothing but a slight nod.
Here, Sir Diego de la Cruz, a swordsman of unparalleled skill and a man with a flair for the dramatic. You'll never meet a more charming rogue.
A pleasure indeed. Welcome to our little game.
And this, Lord Ashford Blackthorn, a mind like no other. Clever, always a few steps ahead. He's the man to know when you find yourself in a tricky situation.
Lord and Lady Garand, what a pleasure it is. We're delighted to have you here. After all, interesting times always follow interesting people.
And last but certainly not least, Sir Tobin Stoutfoot. Don't let his size fool you. His wit is as quick as his fingers, and he's always ready to make a game out of anything or anyone.
Let's hope you're lucky, Lord Garand. Things tend to get competitive around here.
Well, now that we've all been introduced...
You're a lot younger than the last time I saw you. Quite a trick you've pulled, isn't it? To look so... refreshed.
Vladislav leans forward in his chair, a smirk creeping across his face, his eyes never leaving yours, Saxi.
The Lord and Lady Garand, I remember. Well, let's just say, time has not been so kind to them. But here you stand, full of youth and vigor. It makes one wonder.
There's a long, deliberate pause as Vlad's smirk widens.
Do you think no one notices? Or do you simply hope they don't ask too many questions?
Oh, I think you're mistaken, my friend. Lord Garand is my uncle. He's a bit older, you see. He couldn't be here tonight. Or rather, should I say, he didn't want to be here. Social gatherings like these aren't exactly to his taste. Me, on the other hand, I'm always up for a bit of fun. After all, someone has to carry the family banner and make sure we're not forgotten in such fine company.
Deception check, Saxi.
Thank the gods, that's an 18 total.
Saxi, Vladislav's cold, piercing gaze lingers on you for a long moment, and you can almost feel the weight of his stare, as if he's dissecting every word, every movement. Then, ever so slowly, a soft chuckle escapes his lips, a sound that seems both unsettling and strangely amused.
Ah, yes. Carry the family banner. Of course, I understand. You see, as a cripple, I've been doing that very thing my entire life. It's a curious thing, isn't it? The weight of family, of expectations, pressing down on you, making you stronger, or perhaps crushing you under its weight. I know it well. One has to wonder, Lord Garand, if you truly understand what it means to carry such a burden.
The silence that follows Vladislav's words feels heavy, almost oppressive, where every second seems to stretch longer than it should. Vlad's eyes remain fixed on you, Saxi, unblinking, while the rest of the table seems to subtly shift, waiting for what comes next. Even the distant clink of glasses and soft murmurs of the other nobles seem to fade into the background. Just as the silence threatens to become unbearable, Reginald clears his throat, stepping in with a bright smile.
Now, Vlad. Let's not scare off our new friends before they've even had a chance to settle in. We've only just begun the evening, and I'd rather not have any blood spilled. Metaphorically, of course. Come, Lord and Lady Garand, and your guards, too. Have a seat. The night is young, and there's plenty of wine and stories to go around. No need to be on edge.
Joe, I sit down. Thank the gods. I'm parched. Been standing all night like a bloody statue. I grab a goblet of wine and take a long swig, slamming the goblet down. Now this is more like it. What's next? I'm ready for some action.
Dice sounds like a good way to start, something simple, but I'm always up for raising the stakes. What do you think?
Well, if we're playing dice, let's make it worthwhile. We didn't travel all this way just for some casual rolls. I give Reginald a playful smile.
A game of dice could be fun, but I think we can do better than that. I smirk at Saxi. How about we add a little flair?
What do you propose then, my lady? A little flair, you say? I'm all ears.
Maybe we spice things up. The loser doesn't just lose. They have to answer a question from the table. Something revealing.
I like this. A game with stakes beyond coin. A question for the loser. Yes, that could make things very interesting.
A question game? I'm all for it. Nothing like a bit of conversation to loosen the tongue and test the nerves. I do enjoy peeling back a layer or two.
Move too slow for my taste, that. How about this? Everyone puts in a certain amount of coin, and the highest roller takes the pot. Then, the highest roller gets to ask the question.
And to make things even more interesting, the winner also decides how much the buy-in is for the next round. If you drop out, you're out. And you'll have to answer another question. High stakes, higher consequences.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
As the conversation turns to the high-stakes game, you see Vladislav's hands move slowly, almost imperceptibly, beneath his wheelchair. With a soft click, he pulls out a strange, intricate device, something that looks more mechanical than magical, yet radiates an unsettling, arcane energy. It's small, about the size of a large book, with twisting gears and runes engraved along its polished surface. A faint, almost ethereal glow pulsates from its core. Vladislav places the device on the table.
Before we begin, I thought we could raise the stakes a little more. This is no ordinary game. I've made a few modifications to what some of you may know as the Zone of Truth.
He taps the surface of the device with a finger and it hums softly in response, the glow intensifying.
Unlike the spell, there is no resisting this. Once it's activated, you won't have the luxury of holding back the truth. No clever evasions, no half-truths. You speak, and the truth will come out.
He looks up, his smile widening slightly, a dangerous gleam in his eyes.
But of course, it comes with a price. Before it activates, everyone must willingly agree to its terms.
He gestures to the device.
A contract of sorts. Each of you must touch the device. A simple tap will do, to show your consent. Only then will it take effect. If anyone doesn't wish to play by these rules, well, I'd understand.
He leans back in his chair, watching the reactions around the table with amusement.
But that would mean forfeiting your place at the table and answering a question anyway. So, my friends, who's ready to play?
Joe, out of character. What the hell is up with this guy? I thought we were just coming in here to deal with some regular nobles. You know, drink some wine, roll some dice, maybe charm a few folks. But these people, they're all weird. This was supposed to be easy.
Yeah, no kidding. I thought we'd be dealing with the usual stuck-up aristocrats, not some creepy mastermind rolling out magical contracts. What kind of noble carries a Zone of Truth machine under his wheelchair? Seriously.
Hey, relax. Sure, they're strange, but just because they're a bit off doesn't mean we can't handle them. Though, I'll admit I wasn't expecting this.
I don't like this. Nobles tend to have secrets. But this feels more like a trap than a game. I was expecting to finesse our way through this, maybe gather a few allies, not get stuck in some truth-telling deathmatch.
Yeah, this is definitely not what I signed up for. I mean, I thought we were coming in here for some charm and diplomacy, not getting mind gamed by some guy who looks like he could stab you with his eyes. What's the plan here? Because right now, I'm all for getting out of here with our skins intact.
The plan is the same as before. We make allies. Sure, this is going to be difficult, but even a modified zone of truth where we can't pass a saving throw will have ways to exploit it.
Suddenly, Vlad's voice cuts through.
Are we ready or what? I'd hate to think our little game is too much for you all. But if you're not up for it, then feel free to walk away. Though, I believe I promised there'd still be questions.
No, we are more than happy to play this game. After all, that's the reason why we came in the first place.
Yeah, I touched the magical device, Joe.
Same. Let's get cooking.
So are you all touching the device, yeah?
Yeah.
Yep.
As your fingers make contact with the cold, polished surface of the device, a strange sensation washes over you. It's not painful, but there's a subtle, almost electric hum that pulses through your fingertips.
Well, well, I do believe our honored guests should have the privilege of going first. It's only fair, after all.
All right then, 5 gold it is.
All right, I'm going to assume everyone's in unless you tell me otherwise. You watch as everyone else around the table places their gold on it, 50 gold in total. So, here's the plan. I'm going to roll for Reginald and his friends, and you guys roll for yourselves. Just tell me if anyone beats their highest roll. You'll be rolling D100s. Okay, so Lord Ashford got an 89.
I beat it with a 95.
Friggin' awesome. All right, ask your question to the person of your choosing.
Let's keep it simple for the first round. Diego, what's the most expensive thing you've ever gambled and lost?
Ay, mi amigo, a fine question.
His smile falters slightly as he leans back, swirling his goblet.
And one with an answer that still stings to this day. The most expensive thing I ever lost wasn't gold or jewels, no. It was far more precious than that.
He pauses, eyes glazing over slightly, lost in thought.
It was in Zephyria, Kalimport, a city of danger and decadence. There was a high-stakes game in the palace, a game that had run for days. The stakes had grown beyond mere coin. People were gambling deeds to their estates, heirlooms of ancient families. But me?
His voice drops slightly and he takes a slow sip of his wine before continuing.
I wagered something different. I wagered my freedom. You see, I had the favor of the Sultan's daughter at the time. A delicate dance of flirtation and intrigue. She adored me, and I in my arrogance thought I could win her hand with a roll of the dice. One game, one chance, and if I lost, I agreed to walk away from her forever, never to see her again.
Diego sighs, tapping his goblet.
And wouldn't you know it, I lost. Not to skill, but to the whims of the gods. She wept when I left, but a deal was a deal. The most expensive thing I ever lost wasn't gold or a trinket, it was the chance at love. A lesson learned. Some things are far too costly to gamble.
I'm sorry to hear that, Diego. I sweep the 50 gold up from the table and add 10 more back into the pot. Let's keep it going.
Everyone follows. The sound of coins hitting the table echoes through the room as the game moves forward, the stakes rising. Vladislav rolled a 79.
I got an 83, Joe.
And I got a flat 90.
Seems like you win, Tronald.
I scoop up the 100 gold, dropping it into my pouch. Vladislav, have you ever knowingly sent someone to their death for your own gain? If so, who and why?
Jeff. A curious question for someone who wears a mask themselves, but I digress. It was my brother.
He leans back, his fingers drumming lightly on the armrest of his wheelchair.
But it wasn't some distant command sent from across the battlefield. No, it was far more intimate. I lay over him, blade in hand. He was weak. Too weak to rule, too weak to lead our house through what was to come. He begged, of course, but mercy is a luxury that leaders cannot afford. I made sure he knew, in his last breath, that the future would belong to those willing to take it.
He leans forward slightly, his expression shifting, a hint of something more, something driven.
My father was dying. My brother would have inherited everything. Should have, by all accounts. But I took that from him. I don't regret it. Some power, Jeff, is better than none. You see, the only man capable of saving Auroros died many years ago. His vision, his strength, gone. But I intend to make sure his death was not in vain. Even if my seat of power is small compared to the Emperor's, it is still enough to start something. Something that might grow beyond the grasp of those who think they rule now.
Vlad's smile returns, sharper than before, as though hinting at an ambition far beyond his current position.
Perhaps you understand, Jeff. Perhaps, behind that name, you know what it's like to see a broken system and want to tear it down. Some of us will do whatever it takes.
With your passive perception, Celestia, you notice something subtle but unmistakable. The atmosphere at the table has shifted, Reginald's jovial smile has faltered ever so slightly, and his fingers now drum nervously on the armrest of his chair. His companions, too, seem less at ease. Diego's grin is still in place, but there's a tension in his posture, like a coiled spring. Lord Ashford's usual wit has dimmed, and his eyes flick nervously toward Vladislav, as though trying to gauge just how much damage his words might cause. Even Tobin, who had been so eager to keep the game light, now leans back, his mischievous smile replaced by a more thoughtful expression. It's clear they hadn't expected this turn of conversation. This wasn't supposed to happen. Vladislav, however, seems entirely unconcerned. He's revealing far more than anyone expected, but no more than he was willing.
Who was it that died many years ago?
Oh, but Lady Garan, you've had your question. Please, let's get back to the game.
Joe, I throw 10 gold into the pot.
Okay, let's roll. Tobin Stoutfoot rolled a 98.
Damn.
Well, I rolled shit.
As Tobin sweeps up the pot of 100 gold coins, he leans back in his chair, flipping one of them between his fingers. It's then he turns toward you, Saxi.
Well, Lord Garand. It seems fortune has smiled on me tonight. So let's make good use of it, shall we? Tell me, your first noble's ball. Any memorable moments? I'm sure a man of your stature has quite the story to share.
Oh, well, this isn't good.
Game over, folks.
I can feel the weight of everyone's gaze, and the device sitting there, humming quietly, makes it clear. There's no way around the truth. I take a deep breath, forcing a grin, though it feels a little strained. The first noble's ball I attended. I was about 10 years old at the time. My father had some business with another noble. I can't even remember his name. It was one of those formal affairs, all high collars and stiff conversation. I let out a small chuckle, my nerves easing a bit as I continue. Anyway, I wasn't exactly enthralled with all the talk of trade and alliances, so I did what any 10-year-old would do. I snuck off. I found this little storage room tucked away behind a tapestry. Inside, they had all these clockwork devices, old, intricate, and definitely not something a child should have been messing with. But hey, I was curious, so naturally I got to work. I might have modified their fancy self-winding clock to speed up time. Thought it would be hilarious. Turns out it wasn't so funny when the bells for midnight started ringing 3 hours early, sending everyone into a bit of a panic. I'll never forget the look on my father's face when he found me sitting there, holding the clock gears like a prize. Safe to say, I didn't attend another ball for a while after that, but memorable? Oh, definitely.
Ha! Sneaking off to tinker with clockwork at a noble's ball? You got a bold streak in you, Senor Garand. I can respect that. Most kids would be too busy pretending to be princes and princesses. Yet here you were, turning time itself upside down.
Modified a clock, did you? Now that's an unconventional way to make an impression. Better than the usual dull introductions and dance cards, I suppose.
Now that's a story worth remembering. And if I'm not mistaken, I was there that night. Yes, I do recall the bells ringing early and the confusion it caused. Everyone thought it was an omen.
Well, what do you know? My husband, unlike the typical noble, who would have thought?
You know me, my dear, anything but typical.
Ah, yes. I can see why you brought them here, Reginald. They certainly fit in with our little band of misfits, more than I expected. But enough of this small play. I'm bored already. How about we raise the stakes,
Without missing a beat, Tobin sweeps the entirety of the 100 gold he just won back into the pot, the clinking of coins echoing around the table. His grin widens, daring everyone else to match the wager. The gleam in his eyes shows he's in it for more than just the money. He wants to see just how far everyone is willing to go.
Well, I'm out. No point me sticking in this game if you're going to go all crazy with the pot. How much do you think Lord Garand over here pays me?
Yeah, I'm going to.
Ah, well. Seeing as you both decided to drop out on my stake, I suppose it's only fair I get my questions in,
He spins a coin between his fingers, his eyes flicking between the two before landing on you, Raarh.
For you, Green One, I ask. If you had to choose between saving your closest friend or taking vengeance on your greatest enemy, which would you choose, and why?
He pauses for a moment, savoring the tension.
A simple choice for a warrior, I'm sure.
Right. Okay. Revenge or a friend? I've been down that road before. There was someone, once, who betrayed me. Who betrayed one of my closest friend. She left him to die, turned her back on him. Did I want revenge? You're fucking right I did. I wanted to tear her apart for what she did to him. Everything inside me was screaming for it. But did I take that revenge? No. And it wasn't because I couldn't. It's because my friend, the one she betrayed, chose forgiveness. That was his decision, not mine. He didn't want blood on his hands, and he didn't want it on mine either. I could have done it. I could have taken her down right then and there. But if I had, I would have betrayed him in the process, betrayed his choice. And that's something I couldn't live with, because it wasn't just about my anger, my pride. It was about what he stood for, what he valued. So yeah, I'd choose saving my friend. Because if I chased vengeance, the next person on my hit list wouldn't be her. It would be me, for letting my friend die. I would have killed him with my own hands if I went after revenge.
Ooh, how interesting. Who was this friend who told you that revenge wasn't the answer for that circumstance?
Get fucked, Tobin.
Oh my god.
I've answered your damn question, and now I'm done.
Please, forgive him. The Green One can be, let's say, direct with his words. Brutish maybe, but there's heart behind it.
Oh no, don't apologize on his behalf. If anything, I find it rather refreshing to be told to get fucked every now and again. It's a rare treat in such refined company. Keeps things lively, wouldn't you agree? Makes me feel human.
Then Tobin turns his gaze to you, Mite.
And for you, Black Pudding, if you were forced to choose between losing your power forever or watching someone you love die, which would you choose? And why?
This is an easy one, Mite. We would choose someone we love to die, of course. Power is everything. Without it, we're nothing. Weak, helpless. And we are neither of those, are we?
Nah, man, you're wrong. Power, yeah, it's important, but what good is it if you're standing alone? I've seen that life. I ain't going back. I won't be that guy.
Who are you fooling? You think you're some noble savior? They'll leave you, Mite. They always do. We know how it feels to be left behind. Power is the only thing that stays. It's the only thing that protects you.
Look, I get it. I get where you're coming from. You think power's the only thing that matters, right? But listen, man, I've stood there all alone, thinking power was everything. But power without loyalty, without friendship, that's nothing.
You fool yourself. You act like love and loyalty make you strong. They don't. They make you weak. They give you something to lose. Power is freedom. Without it, you're just another slave to someone else's mercy.
Yeah, but you don't understand. Love, loyalty, that's what makes me fight. You think power is what gets me through? Nah. It's the people I care about, the people I protect. That's what keeps me going. I'd rather lose power and stand with them than stand tall and be empty inside. I ain't built for that, man.
You throw me away? Throw away everything we've become, everything we can become. All the power, the strength. For what? Weakness. For people who can't save themselves. Pathetic.
You don't get it. I ain't scared of power. I know what it can do. But without my people, without someone to fight for, what's the point? I'd be a king of nothing. I'd be undefeated, sure. But what's that worth when the crowd's empty? When there's no one left to share it with?
A king of nothing, you say. Perhaps. There's truth in that. What's the point of standing on top of the world if there's no one there to see it? I still think you're foolish. But I see your point. Power without purpose is just emptiness. Fine. Maybe power isn't everything. Maybe, just maybe, your people are worth holding on to. For now. But mark my words, Mite. There will come a time when you'll need us, when your precious love and loyalty won't be enough. And when that time comes, well, we'll be here, waiting.
Give me a persuasion check, Mite.
Fuck yeah, that's a natural 20, Joe, for a 30 total.
That's epic, man. All right, so for going against the symbiote's original desires, I was going to say your symbiote relationship would have gone down by 1, but because of how you handled that internal dialogue with it, that penalty is gone and you would have stayed at 1. However, with that natural 20, I'm bumping you up. You now get another symbiote relationship point, so you're sitting at 2. You're slowly beginning to form some kind of bond with the creature. It's not just a parasite anymore. It's starting to recognize you in a different light. That means you've now unlocked whatever's listed under 2 points of symbiote relationship. Enjoy that. You've earned it.
Well, that's intriguing. What does that open up for you, Mike?
Yeah, it's something all right. So with this extra point, I've got a few new tricks up my sleeve. First up is symbiotic resistance. Pretty handy, I'd say. Every time I rest, I get to pick a damage type, except fire for some reason. Guess we ain't built for flames. But after that, I'm resistant to it until I change it again after another long rest. Then there's regenerative symbiosis. Now, here's the fun part. If I'm below half health, I start healing myself every round based on how good my relationship with this thing inside me is. So the better we get along, the quicker I bounce back. Pretty sweet deal. Now, symbiotic fortitude, this one's a double-edged sword. If I drop to 0 hit points, instead of going out cold, I can make a charisma save. If I hit a 10 or higher, I pop right back up with 1 hit point. But here's the kicker. If I succeed, I gotta roll again. If I fail the second one, the symbiote takes control of me until I get knocked out again or finish a long rest. So, that one's got some risk to it. Could turn into a bit of a nightmare. And lastly, enhanced mobility. I get a climbing speed equal to my walking speed so I can crawl up walls like a damn spider. Pretty slick, right?
That's quite the buff, man.
Yeah, this multiracial thing is super interesting. It's all based off risk and reward and how well we get along.
It's at this point Diego speaks up.
Does he always take this long to answer a question? I mean, I'm all for a dramatic pause, but this is bordering on a monologue.
Yeah, at this rate, we'll be asking the next question at sunrise.
I thought we were playing a game, not waiting for a dramatic soliloquy. Is this a common occurrence?
Honestly, most of the time we can't get him to shut up. This is him thinking, believe it or not.
Yeah, all right. You asked if I choose between losing my power or letting someone I love die. I'd lose my power every damn time. I lean forward slightly, locking eyes with Tobin, no hesitation in my voice, 'cause power's not worth a damn thing if you're standing there alone.
Excellently put, Black Pudding. Short to the point. Sometimes that's all that's needed. All right then, let's not linger. We've all had our fill of deep thoughts for the moment.
Tobin straightens in his seat, his eyes flicking between everyone at the table.
Let's begin the next round, shall we?
Damn, so Vladislav rolled a 99.
33 here.
No chance I'm beating that.
Yep, Vladislav wins.
My question?
He pauses, letting the tension build, his unblinking eyes fixed on you, Celestia, as the room begins to still, the jovial atmosphere from before all but evaporating.
Is for Lady Garand. Tell me, is that really your name?
Oh, for fuck's sake.
And that's where we're going to wrap up this session. See you later, guys.